Alright, ahoy and welcome back to another video. Today is the last day of January, which means it's time to talk about all the games I played this last month. This is a series I did all of last year in 2024. At the end of each month, I would talk about the games I played each month, talk about my favorites, and help myself build towards a GOTY list at the end of the year. I thought it was a fun process, that was helpful for me, so I'm going to do it again here in 2025. So the way this works, I'm going to start off talking about the games that came out in the month in question, so the games that came out in January of 2025, and then I'll move over to the games I played that did not come out in January. I had a pretty free month as far as free time, so I got to play a lot of games this month, which is pretty neat. Let's jump into the first game I played that came out in January, which was a game that actually came out a long time ago and was remastered, and that's Donkey Kong Country Returns HD. Nintendo gets heat sometimes for remastering too many games, putting too much emphasis on remastering games. In general, I'm a fan of remakes and remasters, but this game in particular does hit a sore spot, mainly because when Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze came out on the Switch early on, maybe I think it was 2018, 2019, it was pretty early on in the Switch's lifetime. That was a Wii U port of a game, and the way I read it was, that was a great game. I was happy to support it because the Wii U didn't really get a whole lot of traction. So I was thinking, okay, I buy Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, I enjoy it, and then Nintendo makes a brand new Donkey Kong game for the Switch. And they very well might be making a brand new Donkey Kong game, but it seems like it's not coming to the Switch. It's coming to the Switch 2, and instead, in 2025, almost 7 years later, we get Donkey Kong Country Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, a game that was on the Wii and then came to the 3DS. And I think in general, I don't mind it getting an HD port because it is a very fun game. I'm enjoying it a lot. It just kind of stinks that the last two Donkey Kong games, going all the way back to the Wii, it's like Donkey Kong Country Returns, and then Returns on the 3DS, and then Tropical Freeze on the Wii U, and then Tropical Freeze on the Switch, and then Returns on the Switch. It's just like, it's kind of like The Last of Us and Sony. The last 5 games of this series have been from 2 releases. So that kind of bums me out. I hope there's a new Donkey Kong game around the corner because I do enjoy these games. Tropical Freeze is fantastic, and Returns plays a lot like it. If you've played these games, they're really they're a little more challenging than like a Mario platformer, but they really lean into like momentum. You can roll in these games, and if you roll and get speed, I feel like the levels are often designed where if you're moving with speed and keeping your momentum, you can chain together jumps and land on enemies. You go to platforms, you go to enemies. And it's all designed in a way that if you know a level really well, you can move through it and with really fun momentum and just really feel like you own that level, you know that level. The way I'm playing it, because normally when you play a level the first time, you don't have that knowledge, so you have to explore the level, go a little slower. So I'm playing these levels, I'm getting the Kong letters, the Kongs hidden throughout the level, and then the puzzle pieces that are hidden throughout the level, exploring them, learning them. I'm not really planning on going back through and doing time trials for all the levels. When I played Tropical Freeze the first time, I did play a lot of the time trials. In this game, I think I did time trials in the first level. And that's what I think I'll focus on in this game, is maybe I focus on earning some really good times on a couple levels I like, rather than doing time trials on all the levels, and instead just focus on beating the game, exploring the levels through the first pass, and going from there. This game is pretty neat because it is a 2D platform, but it uses a lot of depth and background to add to those 2D levels. So basically, quite often you'll be in the foreground and you get in a barrel and it'll launch you to the background. Then you play in the background, you explore stuff, you launch back to the foreground. But on top of that, it also adds some hazards that weave in and out of the foreground and the background, and it just adds some depth to the levels that makes them a little more interesting than a normal 2D level. The most obvious one that comes to mind, it's a pretty early level, I think it's like in the second world, where you're on a beach and there's these tidal waves coming from the background, and you can see it coming from the background coming towards you in the foreground, and when it hits the foreground, it crashes against the beach and it washes everything away. Enemies, or if you're there, it washes you away and you lose. So you have to hide behind these rocks so that the waves don't get you. But it just adds so much depth to the levels. It makes them feel that much more special. Where you're going through on a left to right plane, but you see stuff in the background that is eventually going to affect you in the foreground. It just it's really cool. Levels are a lot of fun because of stuff like that. I will say the setting so far of the levels, it's very basic Donkey Kong. You go from the beach. Sorry, you go from the jungle and then the beach, and now I'm in the ruins. And so as far as settings go, they're all pretty basic and samey, but the levels themselves are a lot of fun, and I'm having a good time with it. But that game was not my favorite game of the month. My favorite game of the month was actually a game that came out in early access last year and released officially at the middle of this year on the Switch and the Steam Deck. It might be on PlayStation, but I know Switch and Steam Deck for sure. And that is Blade Chimera. This is a, stop me if you've heard this before, but a pixel graphics action-adventure Metroidvania. Developed by Ladybug, or Team Ladybug. I believe this is their first game. So I always like supporting a new, indie studios when I see cool games like this. This game, I remember when it originally was shown at like a Nintendo Direct, people said that the movement of the character looked a lot like Alucard in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Like the way he runs, the animation, it looks a lot like how this character runs. So they're kind of wearing their inspirations on the sleeve there. But yeah, this is a Metroidvania, and a lot of times I think a big problem a lot of Metroidvanias have is letting the game be fun at the start. A lot of games rely on you getting those upgrades to eventually feel good to move around and make the motion and the exploration feel fun. This game from the start felt fun to run around and jump. I don't feel like it hampers you too much early on. Has some good emphasis on the combat. You can equip 2 weapons at a time, and it kind of hints that maybe you should put a ranged weapon in a melee weapon, which is what I did. So on one of my weapons, I have like a ranged gun, and I think you pretty much have unlimited ammo. So you shoot your gun, then it auto reloads. Shoot your gun, auto reloads. So you don't have to worry about ammo restrictions. And then I have a big melee weapon for when I get close to an enemy. And killing enemies gets you experience. Experience gets you more stats. It's always a fun loop for me. I like leveling up. And kind of the setting for this game, it's a futuristic sci-fi setting where you work for this company or organization and you are hunting demons. So futuristic setting, you're hunting demons. And what your character kind of starts to learn very early on is, maybe this company you're working for isn't all good, and them telling you to kill all demons maybe isn't the best thing. So they say like all demons must die, but your character kind of learns like, well, maybe all demons aren't evil. So that's kind of something your character's dealing with, is hunting demons, but also this organization you're working for kind of shady, and it seems like they're very controlling, and they have other ulterior motives. Very early on, you meet a demon who inhabits a sword that you carry around. They kind of talk to you in story moments, and they inhabit some magical sword that you have on your back, and you can use this sword to create platforms to throw into the walls, jump on them, get higher up. It's a fun game. I think I played it all in one sitting like last weekend. I want to get back into it. I played about 5 or 6 hours. I feel like I'm probably maybe halfway through the game. And I look forward to finishing it. It's definitely my favorite new release of the month, and that is, once again, Blade Chimera. Check it out on Steam or on the Switch. A lot of fun. Alright, so those are the games that came out this month that I played, and let's jump into the games that came out some other time, not this month. So a couple quick ones just to knock off. I did, at the early in this month, I finished Metaphor Fantasio. This is a game I wanted to play a lot last year, and it kept putting it off. But when I put out my Game of the Year 2024 list, I really wanted to make sure that I finished this game. And it ended up finishing at like number 3 on my Game of the Year list from last year. I really enjoyed Metaphor. I've talked about it a couple times before, but it has that Persona loop of like, social stuff, and then combat, and then building your characters, using your characters in combat, and just developing more relations with your characters and learning their story. I really enjoyed that loop, and I feel like Metaphor really had it really nailed it to a way that like when I played Persona 3, I felt like I would do too much social side stuff and then I would do too much combat at a time. It was like really unbalanced. I feel like Metaphor was really streamlined. I was able to go to dungeons more often. I was able to choose how I wanted to spend my time a little more consistently. I feel like it really helped the pacing in that way. I really like the story. The game was very beautiful. Music was great. If you haven't heard people talk about Metaphor, it's pretty widely regarded. It was a near Game of the Year winner for pretty much anyone who played it. I can't. I have to agree. I loved it. I'm glad I got around to finally playing it. I prefer it to Persona 3 so far. It's the only other Persona game I've played, but I do want to go eventually play Persona 4 and Persona 5. Just because I've enjoyed those games so much. And Metaphor, I can't wait till they eventually inevitably release a new version with new content, and I'm sure I'll check it out again. But I think sometime this year I'll go through a New Game Plus run, try to get some of the stuff I missed, and get the Platinum Trophy, because I enjoyed it that much. Another game I finished that I've been playing for a while, Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. This is another game, I feel like this game, with how much I ended up enjoying it, I finished this after I made my Game of the Year list. Just like a week ago, I finished this game. This game would have been in my top 10 last year. I enjoyed it that much. I didn't think I would enjoy it that much because early on, I was kind of having a tough time getting into it because it does have a slow start because this game, you play as Zelda, and it's really focused on you summoning echoes, which are things you memorize through your magic wand, and you can summon things into the overworld to help you get through puzzles or fight enemies. So early on, you have some pretty basic echoes, like, you get the bed early on. The bed is a thing you can stack up to climb platforms. You can jump on the beds to get up to higher ledges. And you get some pretty basic enemies, and you summon the enemies, and they'll fight monsters for you. And the game it felt pretty slow, and I felt limited early on. And that's because I was only able to summon a few things at a time, and the things I was able to summon weren't that exciting. But as you play, you get access to more exciting echoes, and you get the access to summon more echoes at a time. And I feel like the game really has an inflection point where you go from being limited and things are slow to, I can break this game wide open. I can skip stuff. I can just climb over everything. I can get these crazy overpowered monsters and summon them in and destroy everything in my path. And when I got to that point, I was really enjoying it. I ended up 100% in the game. I got all the echoes. I got all the side quests. I got all the equipment, all the upgrades, everything, all the hidden stuff. I ended up really, really, really enjoying this game. I think the back half of the game was excellent. The first half of the game was a little slow to start, getting the ball rolling. But if you can make it through that, if you're enjoying just playing a Zelda game and being in that environment, and that's good enough to get you through those first, 10 hours or so, I think you'll really enjoy the back half of the game. All right, let's see, two more things I am streaming this month. I streamed a Wii U game. I streamed Star Fox Guard, which I learned was a pack-in game for Star Fox, Star Fox Zero. And this game is just a pretty simple, Wii U, almost like a Wii U tech demo. You have the bottom screen in front of you, and then you have, your regular TV screen. And on the bottom screen, you have like a top-down map of your setup. And on the top screen, you see basically, I think it's 12, looks like security cameras. And on the bottom screen, you select which security camera you want to be the focus. And the focus security camera goes to the middle of your screen. And it's basically like a little first-person shooter where you're defending a little maze. So you have a thing in the middle of a maze, and monsters are coming from all directions, and you are switching to the security cameras as you see stuff and shooting them to stop them from getting to the middle of the maze. And it starts off pretty simple with things just walking, and then you get things that start flying, things that start climbing over, things that affect your cameras and make you utilize different abilities and different cameras. It's a really neat game. It's pretty short. If you want to just it is a good Wii U tech demo, I'll say that. I beat it in like 4 hours, and I think that was just the right amount of length to where I was like, okay, they're starting to run out of ideas here. I'm ready for this to end. But if you're someone like me who had a Wii U but didn't really dive deep into the Wii U's library and didn't play a whole lot of the Wii U, this game, for me, felt like a experiencing something that, of an era that I didn't fully take advantage of. So I had a good time with it. It was a fun game to stream, and I'm glad I have it now. But after I finished that, the next game I decided to stream is a game I got last year, and I fully intended on playing last year, but I just never got around to it, and that is Epic Mickey Rebrushed. I am a Disney fan. I've been going to Disney parks since I was a kid, and I've always liked Mickey Mouse. And for some reason, somehow, I never played Epic Mickey when it came out to the Wii. I think I'd already moved on from the Wii when this game came out. I was in my Xbox 360 Call of Duty era, so I never played Epic Mickey. So when it got re-released for the Switch, I feel like I had to get it. And it's a fun game. It's a third-person platformer where you have a little magic brush, and you can paint things, or you can use paint thinner to destroy things. And it's a pretty simple 3D platformer. You have a dash, you have a spin attack, and you have a double jump. So it feels good to control. And then sometimes you go into 2D sections where you have like a little 2D platformer level, and that's really neat. Lots of fun Disney references. You're basically in like a I think called the Wasteland. It's like forgotten Disney things. You're here. Oswald, the lucky rabbit, is here. I think what happened with this game was Disney did not have the rights to use Oswald for a long time. I think it was like with Universal, and they bought the rights back. So they put this game together with Mickey and Oswald, and basically Oswald is bitter and jealous of Mickey. So he has this world of like the forgotten Disney things, and Mickey is going through it trying to save this world, and Oswald's just being kind of a meanie to him. So it's a fun game. It's neat. I will say the Switch version in particular, which is what I'm playing on, I've had some frame issues. It gets a little framey from time to time. And then the load times are not great. I think I forgot to mention it also, but the load times for Donkey Kong Country Returns are also very bad. I feel like I'm getting to that point of Switch where every game that comes out, I'm starting to notice the load times more and more and more, because I'm playing my PlayStation 5 so much, and that has virtually no load times most of the time. So when I play a Switch game and I'm loading for like 15 to 30 seconds, it's just, what are we doing here, guys? Come on, let's speed things up. Switch 2 could not come sooner enough in that regard. But yeah, Epic Mickey Rebush, fun game. I'm glad I'm finally playing it. I intend to stream my whole way through it. It'll probably take, I think it's a 10-hour game or so. I stream for like 2 hours, so it'll probably take at least 5 streams to get through it. But just another game I'm glad I finally got around to, and I'm enjoying it. Let's see. I played through Golden Axe 1 and 2 this month. That was for our podcast over on Generation Behind on Craig's channel. The topic of the podcast was the Golden Axe trilogy. I only played through 1 and 2. They're retro beat 'em ups. I'm not a big beat 'em ups fan. I've never been a fan of beat 'em ups. I think they're annoying more than they're fun oftentimes. So I played through 1 and 2 using some save states, so I didn't have to replay the whole levels and replay all the bosses and stuff. And it was a beat 'em up. Like I said, not my cup of tea. I played through it, and I had sometimes I was having fun. Most of the time I was just mostly being annoyed. I don't think the Golden Axe IP is super exciting. Maybe when it came out originally it was a little bit more. I don't even know if it was novel back then, but it's a pretty basic fantasy characters and pretty basic medieval setting. It's nothing super interesting, but it's a cool game to get under my belt. Golden Axe is a historically important series, so it was cool to play through those. But the last game I played this month, I got in some new physical games. It's from a company that's remaking. It's called Mod Retro. They are releasing some games that are playable on a Game Boy or Game Boy Color, and they're releasing them physically. And the first one I played was Dragonim. So this I'm playing on my Analog Pocket. It actually has a cartridge, this yellow cartridge here. And what this is basically a retro JRPG. It is, it looks like something you'd play on your NES or your Game Boy. And it is it is fully playable on a Game Boy, but I'm playing on my Pocket to have those better, brighter colors, and so it looks better. But It's pretty standard RPG, JRPG, but it has some fun modern conveniences that, things that either they didn't think of back in the 90s, or when they were making these games for the Game Boy, or just things they couldn't do or they couldn't pull off. But now on this version of this game that's playable on this cartridge, like I have fast travel. The the menus are written in a more understandable way. The dialogue of the characters is a little bit better and not quite as simple. They put a little more effort into making it feel like a game that came out in modern times, because it did. I think it came out in 2023, and then physically late last year, early this year. So it feels like a modern game, like a modern indie game that's just playable on a Game Boy, which is just a cool, novel experience. Battles are turn-based, so you have overworld enemies, you run into them, and then you go to a turn-based battle. You can attack, you can use special attacks, and you can use magic. And when you level up, depending on how you kill the enemy, if you kill them with a special attack, or if you kill them with magic, or if you kill them with a regular attack, that'll change what stats level up for that level. So you kind of have to be strategic when you're getting close to a level up. How you take down an enemy will affect what stats are improved. I think that's a system from I think it's Final Fantasy II that did that system. So that's kind of a cool feature. It makes when I am grinding, it makes me think a little bit more rather than just kill enemy, kill enemy, kill enemy, kill enemy. I will say this game is a little challenging in a not fun way. So I like grinding in these games. I like being challenged in RPGs, but I feel like what the challenge is just that all the enemies are very strong. So you can only take down like 1 or 2 enemies at a time, and you got to go back and heal or use a bunch of items. So when you're grinding, it's a little tedious to kill an enemy, kill a second enemy, run back, recover, save, go back, kill an enemy. Whereas I feel like in other games, if you're killing the regular enemies, you can kill them a little easier without having to worry about taking so much damage. But because it takes you several hits to kill them that do so much damage to you, it feels like every battle you're on more of an even playing ground with the regular enemies, which just drives a little bit of tedium with the grinding, which I don't mind. It's still fun, but it's just a slight knock against the game. I've only fought one real boss. It was a fun challenge. I had to use lots of items, use lots of my magic and stuff like that to end up taking it down. But it's a fun game. It's very colorful. I'm still early enough where the story is kind of just a basic hero's journey, fantasy story, so nothing special there, but it's got cool music, it looks nice, and it plays like, it gives me some nostalgic feelings for a game that, just came out recently. So, fun month of games. Next month, February, is probably going to be a busier month for like new releases. January was a little light on new releases, which actually was nice to me because I got to catch up on some stuff. But February, I think I'm looking forward to Avowed. I really want to play Avowed. Monster Hunter comes out. I think Assassin's Creed comes out. Maybe that's March. Can't remember. But lots of February is when the ball starts really rolling for new releases and new things start coming out. So I'm looking forward to getting into some of those. But yep, that's all I got for today. Game of the month for January 2025 is Blade Chimera. Check it out. And thanks for watching.